So this is American Government and Politics, and I wanted to talk about Aladdin, humanity, and the purpose of government. And to be clear, I'm only talking about the 1992 animated version. I'm not talking about the 2019 live action or the cartoon from the Disney Channel or the original text, just the cartoon. So, for those of you that haven't seen it, Aladdin is about a street kid named Aladdin who in the very beginning is a thief and in the end ends up falling in love and marrying the princess. And in the middle there, he also frees a magical genie. And so my question is Aladdin a good guy or a bad guy? Is he a hero or a villain? In the very beginning of the movie, Aladdin is a thief. He steals food, apples, bread, things like that. And if you follow the scene in the song One Jump Ahead, he has all this destruction of property. He resists arrest by the palace guards. He jumps on the heads of sheep, committing assault, and Abu, the monkey, grabs the sword and from the sword swallower, which hurts the sword swallower. And you can argue Aladdin is responsible for Abu's actions because, well, Aladdin owns the monkey. And generally, he's just considered a public menace. There's also this other side of Aladdin, where he gives that food to the hungry children. He protects those same children from the snobby rich prince who wants to whip them. He's the only one that seems to realize that Jafar, the vizier, is controlling the sultan with this magical staff. And he also, of course, frees the genie. During this movie, Aladdin shows compassion. He is giving and selfless. He is protective, and he has a huge amount of courage. So, is Aladdin good or bad? The English philosopher Thomas Hobbes would say that at its core, Aladdin is evil, and Aladdin represents human nature. At our base level, we are selfish, we are angry, we are evil, we are greedy, and we will do anything we can do to get by. We will do anything in our power to get over on our other fellow human beings. And in order to live in a society that is civilization, humans need to give up a lot of their freedoms to the government. And we give that up to a monarchy, which is the preferred form of government. We need a strong authoritarian government to maintain order. We need a monarchy that is strong to protect us from our base nature, because at our core, we are all the evil, bad Aladdin. The other way of looking at Aladdin is that the way John Locke would say, Aladdin is not a bad guy. He's generally good. Yes, he has done some bad things, and yes, he's a thief. But really, he's only a thief because he's poor. No one is born evil or no one is born bad. It's typically our circumstances that lead us down that path. And John Locke would say, at our core, human beings are good. And the role of government is to serve and protect us from those few bad apples that are out there in society. And John Locke would say that, and both of these, John Locke and Thomas Hobbes, are Christian philosophers. So this is based on the idea of Christianity. John Locke would say that humans have natural rights endowed by a creator, and those being life, liberty, and the pursuit of property. And then the role of government is to protect those natural rights. And so that's what government should do. Now, is Aladdin good or bad? Is Aladdin a villain or a hero? Who's closer to correct? Thomas Hobbes' view that humans are selfish or John Locke's view that humans are good? I don't have an answer to that. And that's not what we're here for. You can look at this in a lot of different ways, and the idea is for us to explore the question and you develop the answer on your own. But we do know that part of your worldview, how you view humanity, whether you think humans are generally good or generally bad, affects what you think the role of government should be. We know that at its base core, governments are supposed to provide services such as education, roads. They're supposed to provide a level of protection, whether that's the police or, to continue the Aladdin example, the royal guards, or whether it's the military to protect us from enemies, foreign and domestic. And the government is supposed to resolve disputes. The level of government you want, how authoritarian it is versus how democratic, how free it is versus how controlling, a lot of that goes back to your view of humanity. If you feel humans are evil, like Thomas Hobbes does, you want a government that's very hands-on, very controlling, very authoritarian. If you view that government is, and that humanity is good, if you view humanity as good, you want a government that's more providing service and resolving disputes. And another thing you have to look at when you look at this role of government is this idea of cost versus benefits. What are the costs to the people compared to the benefits you get by the government? Go back to that example of Aladdin running through the market at the beginning because he stole the loaf of bread and he's chased by the royal guards in the picture. They cause a lot of property damage. They cause a lot of destruction. They actually cause a lot more problems than the loaf of bread is worth. Wouldn't it have been simpler just to pay the bread maker for the bread and then have the royal guards, I don't know, issue a warrant, try to get him later when he's not being suspected? So you do have these questions. And then you have questions about the role of government, of whether these issues should be resolved publicly or resolved privately. Why is it the government's problem if Aladdin steals a loaf of bread from another merchant? Why can't the merchant solve that problem? Why are we farming out conflict resolution to the government? And again, these are things that you question in society. And so that's one thing we look at. When we're looking at the role of government, we have to ask ourselves the question, what are you willing to pay for? What are you willing to sacrifice? What levels of service do you want? And then if you're going to have rules for dispute resolution and rules for protection, how do you provide enforcement? At the heart of every law and at the heart of every rule, there needs to be a mechanism of enforcement. If you murder someone, you go to prison. You steal something, you go to prison, or you pay a fine, or maybe there's community service. If you cheat in my class, then I'm going to fail you. There has to be a level of enforcement for government to count. Government really only exists if they have the power to enforce their rules. And that's an important aspect of this. No matter what you think the role of government should be, they have to be able to enforce their rules to count as a government. All right, that's real quick. Thanks for watching. If you have any questions and you're in my class, email those to me and I will try to give you an answer as quick as I can. And if you haven't seen Aladdin and you don't know the marketplace scene that I'm talking about, I'll leave a link in the description, or go watch the first 7 minutes of Aladdin, the cartoon, and then come back, watch this again. It'll make a lot more sense. Thanks, everybody.